Hello and welcome to my channel where I try to simplify SAP integration for you one concept at a time. In this video, we'll explore the concept of pagination in APIs, why it is needed when you are working with large datasets. What are the common methods like offset pagination and cursor-based pagination? What is the concept? And then we will look at how the OData Adapter in SAP Integration Suite handles pagination. Then we'll look at in the system SAP Integration Suite using a sample iFlow, how processing pages option and the looping process call pattern works, and how you can implement pagination efficiently in your integration flows. So what is pagination in APIs? When we fetch data via APIs, there are cases large amount of data has to be extracted. Imagine an API returning thousands or millions of records. Fetching everything in one single request is not efficient or not even feasible. It can overload the system, cause timeouts, and even make your integration flow fail. This is where pagination comes into picture. Pagination simply means the technique of breaking up large data sets into smaller, more manageable pieces, also known as pages. Instead of requesting all of the data at once, we request them step by step. For example, you have thousands of records you need to extract. At a time, you only request 100 records and you run the process in a loop till you receive all of the data. This makes the integration more stable, faster, and easier to handle. Now, if we break down the technique a little bit more into details, the client send a request and receive the first set of data. This small set of data is also known as pages. So the client send the request and receive the first set of data or the page 1. After getting the page 1, client send another request. Then it receives the next set of data, page 2. Then again, another request goes from the client and the client receives the third set of data, page 3. And this loop, request and this reply with the small set of data repeats until the client receives the full set of data valid for his request. So now let's talk about why pagination is needed and what are the main advantages of it. One is performance and the second one is memory management, and then comes the user experience. The first reason why pagination is needed is performance. Instead of pulling thousands of records in one go, pagination allows us to fetch smaller set of data. This reduces the load on the server. Not just that, it speeds up the response time for the client. And also it reduces the memory usage as a whole. The second reason is memory management. Handling a massive dataset in one shot can easily consume too much memory and even crash the system. With pagination, the data is broken down into smaller sets or smaller pages, making it easier to process and store without overloading the memory. And the third reason is user experience. Think about Google. When you search for something, you might end up with thousands or even more results. But Google does not show you all of the results in the first page. It will show you the first page with 10 or 20 results, which is usually enough for you to get started. If you want more, you can go to the next page. This makes the user experience better, cleaner, and this is far more user friendly than showing you all of the results. That is the same concept in pagination. These are the two common ways of doing pagination. One is offset pagination and the other one is cursor pagination. The first one, The offset-based pagination use parameters like skip and offset to fetch the records in batches. The second one, cursor-based pagination, uses a cursor to indicate the position of the dataset and fetch the batch from that cursor position and start fetching the dataset from that cursor position. Now let's look at an example with this employee dataset. Imagine this as our large dataset. So you have the employee ID, the first name, and these employee details. And imagine it can run up to thousands or hundreds of thousands of records. And let's see how offset pagination and cursor-based pagination can extract this dataset in pages. In offset pagination, we use these two parameters, offset and limit. The limit defines the number of records we want to retrieve with each call. Now here in this example, we have set the size as 5. That means per each call, we are only picking 5 records. And this offset defines how many records we skip before starting to extract the data. So when we set the offset as 0 and limit as 5, we get the first 5 records. So offset is 0, so we are not skipping any records, and we want to get 5 records. That is our first page. To retrieve the next page, what we do is we change the offset. Now we retrieve up to 5 records. Now we want to skip these 5 records and start fetching the next 5 records. So we set the offset to skip 5 records, set the offset as 5. Then we keep the limit, the page size, as the same as 5. We get the page number 2. Starting from this and till here, 5 records. We skip the first 5 records using the offset as 5, then got 5 records. And then we again change the offset. Now altogether we have retrieved 10 records. The first 10 records we have already received. Then we change the offset to 10. We say offset 10, limit is 5. Then we get the last page or the page number 3. It has only 2 records. So we get the next 2 records. So if you have more records, for example, thousands of records, this process of changing the offset repeats till you retrieve the full dataset. In cursor-based pagination, we rely on a unique key. In this case, the unique key is the employee ID. It uniquely identifies each record. It is not just unique, this is also sorted in the ascending order. We use this employee ID or this unique key as kind of a bookmark when retrieving the data using cursor-based pagination. Let's say we want to start fetching the employee data set. Similar to offset pagination, we set a limit. That means per each page, how many records do we need? We set the limit as 5. So from each page, we get 5 records. So when we call the API, for the first call, we set the limit and we get the records starting from the first record until employee ID 105. That makes 5 records. Now we set the cursor or this bookmark at here, the last seen record. So when we call the API again, we set the cursor as 105. The last seen record in the first dataset, which is employee ID 105. We set the cursor as 105, limit again as 5. Then starting from the employee ID 106, we get the next 5 records in the page 2. Now we set the cursor again. So what is the value for the cursor? It's the last record number of this unique key, the employee ID 110. In the next API call, we set the cursor as 1110 and limit as 5. Then we get the next set of data 1110. We skip records until 110, and starting from the next record, we get the next 5 records. Of course, in this example, we only have 2 records left, and in the page 3, we get these 2 records, skipping the records until the employee ID 110. On OData calls, cursor parameter name is usually called as the skip token. I will show you in an example in the Integration Suite. Now let's look at with an actual API how pagination in OData services works. We will use this API from Northwind for this example. This Northwind is a test platform for you to test OData services. This is our resource. From Northwind, we will get products. So if I invoke the service through Postman, we will get the products from this API. And product, of course, has a product ID, product name, and all of those details. That is one product. And here is the next product with product ID 2. And here you will notice I consume the OData API and the product ID starting from 1 all the way until product ID 20 is received as the first page. How do I know this is just the first page, not the full data set? Is from this next link. That means we have more records available for this query. So how do we get the next set of data? That is, we use this parameter for OData services called skip token. So we receive the first 20 products, product until product ID 20, and we want to skip all of these products that we received in the first page and get the next set of data. For that, what we do is set the skip token as 20, the last product ID here. So how do we set the skip token? In the parameters, you can set skip token as 20. Then send again. Now we should get the next set of data. Now the product ID starting from 21. We skip the first 20 records, the products until product ID 20. Now we get it from 21 again until product ID 40. And you will notice that we did not set the limit for this service. That is because the limit here is set by the server. Set the limit as 20. Per page, you can only retrieve 20 records. From product ID 21 until 40, we have 20 product IDs. So that is set from the server side. So how do we go to the next page? Again, we keep on incrementing the skip token. Now we set the cursor as product ID 40, the last seen record ID here. Then again, you can see what is the first product ID 41, starting from the next product ID, skipping until product ID 40 as set in the skip token. Then again, we know that the limit here or the page size is 20, so we get until product ID 60. Then again, for the next one, we set the skip token as 60 and we get product ID starting from 61. And if you go down, we have the product ID still 77. Now you will notice that the next link is missing. That means this is our last page of the dataset. We don't have any more records to be fetched. So the last record is product ID 77. You can still change the skip token. Now we received until product ID 77. You can change it to 77 and consume again. and you will notice that you will get a empty data set, no records. So from here also we can identify we have retrieved all of the data set. So we saw in OData services how the cursor based pagination work using this skip token. How we can go from one page to another, skipping records and retrieving them in batches. Now let's look at how this works in SAP Integration Suite OData Adapter V4 to be exact. Now to see how the SAP Integration Suite and the OData Adapter works for the same API to retrieve the products from Northwind, I have created this simple integration flow. So what we are doing is we will get the products from this Northwind OData service and save them in a data store. So what we are interested is in this OData Adapter, how it handles pagination. So in the connection, I have provided the address of the service, and in the processing tab, I have specified I want to access the resource products. I want to get the product information. And in the query option, of course, I have selected some fields I want to extract. Now the product information I extract from the OData service, then I will save it in a data store. Here I have used the OData V4 adapter. And let's trigger this integration flow through Postman. So now we are extracting the product information through Integration Suite while calling the Northwind API. Now let's invoke the service through Integration Suite. Now in the result set, you will notice that you get the products from product ID 1. Let's see how many products we get. And you will notice that we are already getting more than 20 records here. And we get all of the products in one go. However, we notice that when we actually check the API, this will never return more than 20 records. The server does not retrieve or send us more than 20 records. But through Integration Suite, when we call this service, we got all the products. So how does that work? When we invoke the service separately, we had to change the skip token and get page by page every 20 records. So in Integration Suite, what happens is the OData Adapter itself handles this changing of the skip token and using that next link right here to get the next set of data. And it combines all of the data into one response and send to us. That is why you see all of these records, the full set of records in one go. But in the background, it is actually fetching the records page by page because there's no other way to consume this API than in pages because the server never returns more than 20 records. And if you go to our data store that stores the data, if you download, you can see the full set of data as well. Here, this is our data store entry with all of the products until product ID 77. Full set of data. And if you go to the message monitor and to the trace, you will see how the OData Adapter itself do the pagination and gather all of the pages into one response. And if you go to the OData service, go to the message content and to the payload, you will notice that here you have multiple steps. So here if you go, you can see the payloads that we are receiving. So this is one of the pages that the OData Adapter got from the Northwind service. It starts from product ID 1 all the way until what is the last product ID here. Right, here the product ID 20. This was the first page. And here you can also see the next link with the skip token 20. So the OData adapter picks this next link and picks the next page. So here it is not in the correct order, but here you can see another page. This time product ID starting from 61 until product ID 77. This is the last page. And here you can notice that the next link is not there to fetch the next page. And if you keep on going here, you can see other pages as well. So here product ID starting from 21, I believe. Right. Here you can see starting from product ID 21 all the way until the product ID 40. Right here. All the way until product ID 40. And again you have the next link, OData next link with the skip token 40. The adapter has to skip until product ID 40. And like that, it repeats until you get all of the pages necessary. So here from product ID 41 to product ID 60 is another page. So this adapter runs as a loop, get all of the records. Then what it does is it combines all of the records into one. Now if you go to the message content, you will see from product ID 1 all the way up to product ID 77. So what we did manually in Postman, changing the skip token and using the next link to get each page, the OData V4 adapter itself in Integration Suite does that automatically, and we get the full set of data. And if you dig deeper into this OData adapter, how it works, in the header parameters, you can see this request URL, how it changes with each call to retrieve each page. So here the request URL, you have until products, then you have the query parameters, what are the fields that you want to get, and you will notice that the skip token here is 20. So this must be our second call. So this is the second call of the OData adapter to the Northwind service. So if you go further, here the request URL, you can see now the skip token is 60, skipping 60. So it is skipping until product ID 60 and getting the rest of the data set. And if you go further, again, this is not in a sequence, but you can see this probably is the first request. So here you can see there is no skip token. So this is the initial API call. And here the skip token is 40. So here you will notice that in V4 adapter, OData V4 adapter in Integration Suite, how this loops automatically to collect all of the pages from the server. Now imagine you have a scenario, you don't want to collect all of the data set, you want to process them in pages. That means each page you want to save it to the data store. But now in our current design, where the adapter has been configured, it collects all of the pages together and save it as one entry in our data store. But imagine you have a scenario, you want to process this data set in pages. In our example, that means save each page as a separate entry in the data store. To do that, we have to activate in the OData adapter this parameter process in pages. Not just that, you have to use a looping process call. So right here, these local calls, looping process call you have to use. Now I have created a new integration flow to process in pages. So in the OData adapter, you can see option process in pages is active. But you will notice the message here in the tooltip message is processed in batches of server specific page size. Select only while using a looping process call, right? So we know that what is the server specific page size is 20. We get a batch of 20 records from Northwind per consumption call. So here I have created a local integration process to get each page from this Northwind service. So each page I'm saving in this data store. How do I move to the next page? Is through this get products in pages looping process call. And you will notice that this looping process call is connected to my local integration process get. I have named it as get one page. And also in this local process call, I have to provide this important parameter condition expression. That means how many times I want to run the local integration process. So how it works is it comes here, get the first page, save it, it goes back to the looping process call, and it has to determine now there are more records, it has to fetch the next page and again save it, comes back here, are there more records, go and fetch the next page. So in the OData adapter, how we determine there are more records is with this parameter right here. So this property has a specific pattern. So here you can see property dot Northwind. Where does this come from? It comes from your OData here, the receiver. The receiver name is Northwind. So here it goes as property dot the receiver name dot OData dot has more records. If it's true, that means it has more records. We have to continue the loop. Till this becomes false, this loop continues. And if you go to the SAP documentation, also you can see in the OData adapter section how this process in pages works. To use process in pages, you must use an adapter in a local integration process that is invoked by a looping process call step. So the integration flow that we built is also in the same pattern. We have a local integration flow with the looping process call. And you will notice the pattern of the condition expression that we set. So it goes as property dot receiver name. Our receiver name is Northwind. Right here, I named it as Northwind. You can name it any way you like. Here, then it becomes Northwind. Then it's the channel name. So the channel name here is OData. Then .OData has more records, contains true. That means the loop should repeat to get the next page. That is what we set here in the looping process call. Property.Northwind.OData, the channel name, has more records equals to true. Now let's invoke this new integration flow that we created with this looping process call and to get each page and process each page of the data set individually. Now here you will notice that we get the last data set only, the product starting from 61 to 77. We don't get the full set of records. But that is not the purpose here. We have to go and check our data store. Now if I go to the data store, you will notice that this was the last message where we receive the full set of data in one go. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 messages created. Let's download the first one and see the records there. Now here we have in the first message the product ID starting from 1 to product ID 20. That is our first page. Then we'll go to the next entry. Let's download that. Now if I open that, we have the product ID starting from 21 should be until 40 because the limit is 20. Right. That's the second page. And the next page, you can also check. Now we are skipping 40 product IDs getting from 41. This is the third page, 41 to product ID 60. And this is the last page. Here from product ID 61 as expected till 77. Now essentially we process each page individually, not like we did in the last integration flow where the adapter collected all of the records and gave one response. Now we are actually processing page by page, saving each page in the data store. So the first one starting from product ID 1, then from 21, then the next page from 41, then of course the last page. And also how I set the ID of each entry here is in the data store. I use this expression property.camel loop indexed. That means the loop step is denoted by a unique sequential number here. I'm capturing that and setting as the entry ID in the data store. So the loop starts from 0, that is to get the first page, then 1, 2, 3. That is the content of this property camel loop index. So the purpose of this video is to show you how this OData v4 adapter works when you don't activate process in pages, how it combines all the pages and get the response, and also how this process in pages works and how you have to use a looping process call with the local integration process if you want to use that option process in pages. That means you want to process each page individually. And also what are the important parameters that we use in the looping process call to keep on looping through the data set. In the condition expression, you have to check this property whether it's true or not. Not just that, hope you understood the concept why we need pagination as well as the main two types of pagination methods, offset pagination as well as cursor pagination. This is the pagination method we actually used in the Northwind OData service example as well. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to learn further and learn SAP Integration Suite fully, I have an online course where I have close to 200 lessons, video lessons like this, where you can learn from the very basics to advanced topics of interface building with SAP Integration Suite. Not just that, if you are stuck, if you are unclear of certain topics, you can ask questions directly from me. So here is the syllabus of the course. You can go to this link that I will provide you in the description of this video. You can go to the link and see all of the lessons what I cover in this course. We go from how to set up cloud connector, from router, filtering messages, splitting, validations, exception subprocesses, all of the necessary building blocks of SAP Integration Suite I cover in this course. So click on the link and check out the course syllabus, and if you like, you can sign up, and I'll be happy to see you in the community.